everybody, and welcome back to the I Don't Know Running podcast, where we share our experiences that make running fun and sometimes not so fun. I'm Lewis, and I'm a self-admitted lazy ultra runner that has nothing extra to say.
And I'm Mitch. I'm addicted to signing up for races.
Oh, yeah. Especially free ones.
Free is always good.
You know, those free entries get signed up quick.
I like this. That started off early.
Better than the back end.
Yeah, and just say, looking for free entries.
Free entries, especially in what states again? Oh, man, that should be, you should have those dialed.
I do.
You're down to like 9 states now? Or is it 10? 9?
Yeah. So
obviously, Hawaii and Alaska.
Hawaii and Alaska with a travel would be great. Like
or even the race is fine, but
yep.
You have some Delta points.
Yep.
Mitch will take them.
I will. And then South Dakota and Idaho. I'm signed up for Idaho. I got most of that set up.
Okay.
I'm going to pace Laura at Tahoe 100 the week before, and then I'm going to fly from Tahoe or Reno to Idaho.
What race is that?
Idaho Falls Marathon. Mm-hmm.
Cool. That's in the fall?
It's in July.
July. Okay.
July 27.
Right in the summer. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually golfing in July, so that won't work for me. The month of July, I'm golfing. No, I'm just kidding.
Good.
I know we did talk about it. Yeah. I'll have to still see.
I still have to get my second place to stay.
In Idaho.
Yeah, probably because we're gonna make a vacation out of it and go to Grand Tetons. This is the plan.
Oh, okay.
And then the other side, I'm signed up for a race the week after Glass City in New Hampshire, downhill race. That's the other one.
Yeah.
And then I need Georgia.
Which Georgia would be a fun one.
Yeah, and I think I found something in the fall that's like
12-hour
drive. So I'm kind of, after all my travel issues from last time, I'm okay driving that far.
That is a poke.
What's that?
That is a poke. 12 hours.
It is. But a lot of times, like to fly somewhere like that, you're going to have 8 hours of travel time no matter what. By the time you get to the airport, get there and drive. So, but you're just not having to do the driving, right?
True. Yeah.
If you have a couple drivers, that's okay. And then I need New Jersey, Vermont, and Massachusetts. And what's the other? Did I miss one or not? I don't know if I missed any.
I don't know. But yeah. So speaking of races, we're going to cover some races, but let's talk about the last week. Why are we recording this today versus a week ago? Life is crazy. I was supposed to be gone
last
weekend. You were.
That's
why it makes it. Yeah, that's why it just makes it crazy. We were supposed to record this. Oh no, we weren't supposed to because I was supposed to be gone, and then. I had a dog that everybody that has dogs that's listening to this can understand this. We had to put down a dog. Terrible. Sucks. That is one of the worst things. However, what that did, interestingly enough, these are the kinds of things that I think God orchestrates in my life or anybody's life, right? Because of that, I was actually home. And I got a phone call. So I was supposed to be gone that weekend, starting Thursday. But I got a phone call Friday. Hey, your grandmother's probably going to pass. So because of staying home, because of the dog, I was actually able to go up, say my goodbyes to my grandmother on Friday, which is so thankful for because, I mean, that was just such a blessing in my life to be able to go do that. And she passed away. And so that just meant, man, what a week last week.
Well, right. And then sometimes we'll try to get together in the middle of the week or do that, just too busy. And typically we've been trying to do Fridays, which has been working really good for us.
Yeah.
But then the funeral was yesterday.
It was kind of a funeral, not funeral. Okay. My grandma did not want a traditional funeral. So it was really just graveside memorial of some kind. I don't know what you would call it, but a collection of a gathering of our family and that was really, really good. I was, again, super thankful that you were more than flexible to be like, yeah, I can't do it, and allowed me the time to be able to do that because it was good. So all that to say, we are like in chaos. It seems like in the recording, the when we're recording, when we're not,
Right.
and like, oh, that doesn't work, so let's push it.
I know, and what it does is it just adds all the stress because this is supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
And the fun part is doing the actual recording, right? When we have guests, we talk about fun subjects, we laugh, but then the editing part. So that's the part you have. It's not about the recording. That's easy. It's just the editing afterwards and trying to get all that together. And I'm technically technology challenged on that kind of stuff as far as like I don't have any artistic bone in my body.
Yeah, we need to have you like take over some of that and then be like,
you wouldn't be very happy. You wouldn't be happy with it.
Well, we would tell everybody that listens, hey, look, Mitch is doing it this week. Give him some grace.
It's gonna suck.
No, it's good. I guess the reason we say that, we bring this up is just like asking for some understanding of like, hey, not every week. Well, our goal is every week. Like we want to hit every single week. And so that is our rhythm. But there's always the outside chance that like life literally gets in the way and we can't get a recording. But, and then to add to that, we wanted to record this earlier than this.
Yeah. Cause it's been more than a weekend and a day.
Yeah.
And I'm getting to be an old man and my memory, it's like, oh, that was a long time ago. It was like 2 weeks. So, 2 weeks ago is all.
So we wanted to get this recap of Salisbury Marathon.
Salisbury
race
Steak.
Recap.
Salisbury
Steak Marathon so that, that's one of the things we want to focus on this year was recapping races, talking about which ones we like, which ones we don't, our experiences, because to be honest, there's only so much a race can do to make it good or bad, right? It's 26.2 miles.
Yeah.
We're talking marathons here, but across the board, fill in the distance. There's only so much a race can do to make that 26.2 great or not. It's still 26.2 miles, unless you have the one like you had in, where was that? It ended up being like 28 miles or something stupid.
Brazos Benz.
Yeah.
When I came around the halfway point, because it was a 2-looper and I was at 14 miles, I'm like, oh, damn
this
it.
doesn't seem right.
This sucks.
Now,
I wasn't in the mood for a 28-mile marathon.
Well, what's funny is you say it's Brazos Benz. That's a trail.
Yeah.
You kind of understand.
That's a loose term because it's like 2-track kind of like.
But it's an ultra, right? Isn't Brazos Benz have an ultra?
There's a 100-miler. You can do whatever distance you want all the way up.
I feel like
I didn't want to do a 50K, so I guess it was less than a 50K.
It was, yeah, but I almost feel like if you enter into the trail/ultra side of things, distances are very loose.
It is true. What was the one I did in Utah? It was Bryce Canyon, and it was a 60K. And I chose the 60K on purpose because it was supposed to be a loop. It wasn't no out and backs. And I wanted to see more. Well, the reality is when you get to those higher miles, you could care less what the scenery looks like. You just want to be done.
Yeah, especially the last half.
It was beautiful, but that was, I think a 60K would be 38 miles, 37 miles, somewhere in there. And I think my GPS, I came to the last aid station and I was close to 40 already. I'm like, oh, I'm tired. Just want to be done.
Yeah.
But they had Coke. And they were going to pour it in a cup for me. Like, give me the whole can. I drank a whole can of Coke. So those are the stuff that you always remember.
Yeah.
Like I'm tired and it's like, oh, that juiced me up a little bit.
Yeah. And so there's only so much a race can do to make it good or bad. So we want to make sure we're sharing the entire experience.
Right.
Because a race is an entire experience. It's an experience sometimes even in the training up to it, which I'll talk about a little bit today, actually, with what's going on. And then it's the travel, it's the race, it's the post-race, it's the getting home. Like that is a complete experience. And so we want to talk about that a little bit because everybody's going to have a different experience, but this is your experience and it's real. It's
Yeah. And it doesn't mean that, like if I have a bad experience, it doesn't mean that race is bad.
right.
But that's my experience. So, and it's just funny. That's why I'm so anti-virtual race, is because
Yeah.
a virtual race, you don't get that whole experience. Like, you don't have to line up with other people. You don't have to sit there and be cold at the start. You can walk out your door and you can kind of do whatever, or you can park somewhere and you can just quick throw your jacket in your truck when you're ready to go and you can go.
It's much different.
It's so much different. But like running to where you have to get somewhere and you have to read their stupid website to try to figure out what the directions are or that kind of stuff and try to get to packet pickup to get your stuff and all of that comes with it. So that's a whole experience all the way around.
Yeah. And no matter how much you prep, read all you want to read, there is a certain amount of unknown still tied to it. I mean, you can be as prepared as you want, but you're still sitting there feeling like, what am I missing something? Is everything the way it should be? So there's that, and you don't have any of that with virtual.
No.
There's no unknowns. You get up and you're like, all right, I'm gonna run from my house. Yeah. Like I did 3 weeks ago or whatever, 4 weeks ago. There was zero stress with that. I mean, literally zero stress.
There's that part that says the distance is a distance. It's still gonna kick your butt, right? It's not, you can't take that away. So the distance, I agree. Like a marathon distance, it's hard.
Yeah, no matter what.
And you're gonna have problems no matter what. But you don't have all that added stuff, all that added stress with it.
Yep.
So you can kind of plan out your day that way. And if you don't feel good that day, you do it the next day.
Yeah, exactly. That's the piece that is really a little, that's the piece that really makes you go, virtual's just
interesting. I'll talk about that one later. But
before we get started on Salisbury, I do want to say this. I want to put this out there because so I want to just speak to a little bit of like where I'm at with my running, because it's been great. I've had a great build up this year, but we talked about when you were out, I had, for the, you don't know what you don't know segment with
Terrence.
PT Sports Pro, Terrence and Dave. We talked about cadence and strides per minute. Okay. And 180 is a goal for many. Like what Terrence spoke, it is a very efficient way to run 180 strides per minute. And we talked about that. And in the course of conversation, I felt like my understanding, and this is why I want to clarify this. I want to get this out there because I don't think my understanding was the correct understanding of what Terrence was saying.
Weird.
Yeah. Yes, you want to go to 180 steps per minute right away. Yes. However, you don't, so you do not, you have to treat it like couch to 5K, couch to half marathon, couch to marathon. You don't just go out and run 10 miles at 180 steps per minute. You need to progress that. And I think I missed that piece. And so I want to say this to everybody listening.
Because then you had some pain.
I had some serious issues and I had to take a step back. I went out and did a 14 miler. And I didn't start with the 14. I started with the 8 or the 10, which still was probably too much. It was probably causing some issues.
So you're a typical runner.
And I jumped to 14. And man, after the 14, actually at the end of the 14, I was having issues. And I went, man, this is crazy. Because leading up to...
So you should probably try to do that for Glass City next week.
No, I have. It's interesting. So I'm going to get to this. Leading up to the 14 miler, the few that I had done before, the numbers, the numbers that I was getting from like Stride, from Strava, from Garmin, was telling me that it was actually easier to run at 180 strides per minute.
Really? So your Stride was coming back and saying, hey, you're doing good.
Yeah, it was actually saying you're not working as hard.
But the other side of that, though, is that your body isn't adjusted to it.
Body's
so
not ready necessarily.
You might not have been working as hard.
Yep.
But your
Heart
body's
rate-
like, what the heck are you doing?
Heart rate, power, both went down for the same, let's say, speed, right?
Hmm.
And I thought that is exciting. And so I jumped up to the 14 miler, did the 14 miler, and everything was the same, except I felt it in muscles and ligaments or wherever. And I had to dial that back. And so I had to literally.
You are older now too.
Yeah, a little bit.
Pretty old.
Not as old as you. But I did anyway, little potential injury, but not just stress probably, and have dialed that back up by using a normal stride. I say normal, my normal stride, which is more like 165 strides per minute. But what I want to say is, through this process, it's actually hard now to dial it back. Like I went out yesterday, did a 8 miler, and I found myself, the strides were pushing faster. I mean, just that quickly, I'm already starting to get that. So anyway, I wanted to say that if you are trying to go to 180 steps or strides per minute, careful. Do it as if you've never ran a 5K or whatever, and do it slowly, progress slowly. But yes, you don't go from 160 to 170 and then 170 to 180. You do want to go to 180, but use it as if you might only do a couple of miles and then go back to your stride, or you might do, then the next time you do 5 miles or whatever. Work that progression up slowly versus all at once. And I believe that's what Terrence probably was supposed to be telling me, but I didn't hear it. Okay, that out of the way.
That was a lot.
I know.
Whew.
But I wanted to get that out there because it affected me, and we had said it.
You got scared.
I did.
You started texting Terrence and said, I don't know what's going on. I'm hurt.
Yeah.
I might have to come in.
I honestly thought Glass City, which is a week out right now, was
done.
Was potentially going to be an issue. Because I felt like almost injury prone. So anyway, let's talk about Salisbury steak. We say that, but it's not. It's Salisbury, Maryland.
Yeah.
Maryland. It's not the Salisbury, Maryland Marathon. It's the Salisbury Marathon in Maryland. Put on by Run SBY. I'm not sure if it's Runsby or Run SBY. Maybe it's Run SBY.
They do a few races, but
yeah,
it's funny. Like, it gives me an excuse to wear these shirts. It's not a bad looking shirt.
That's actually not a bad. Is it the soft?
Yeah, it's soft and
nice.
And it's actually.
I like it.
Yeah, it's probably more towards cotton. It's probably not a running shirt, but I don't care. I mean, I was telling somebody the other day, I have shirts that I have in the race bags in my truck yet, like I threw in the back.
Oh,
so
really? Now
if we do a race recap, whatever that word is, the recap. Hey, I wear the shirt at least once.
Yeah.
Then I'll throw it in my truck.
Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. I did it before you, a week before.
That is true.
We talked about my race recap of the,
and then after
supposed to be.
What we realized is, you probably could have done it because of how I pushed to get back, because the race was on Saturday. But I drove down there.
Yeah.
And I was, again, with my cheapness and then trying to do a lot per year. Here's the thing. If you're doing a lot, like your budget, if you're doing 1 or 2 vacations a year, your budget can be bigger. And I don't look at it as a vacation, but when you're doing this, there's cost to it. Yeah. So I try to get that cost down as much as possible so I can do as much of this as possible. So it's not that I'm cheap, because I'm not. It's trying to work it out.
Yeah, it's the difference between 2 or 10.
Right.
You can have the same amount of dollars.
Because that's why we backed off on Alaska this year, is because it was going to be about $3,000 just in flights.
Wow.
Between the two of us. Goodness. So I was like, I got to rethink this. I can do a lot. So goal, I've changed my goal. I'm thinking, hey, if I can get everything done but the last 2, Alaska and Hawaii, then I can take my time to do those and do other stuff.
You could save money and drive there.
If I got my van, I can't drive to Hawaii though.
True.
Um,
Cargo ship. Drive
Yeah.
onto a cargo ship.
yeah, and
That
take
would be
like a month
interesting.
to get there or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, that's a good idea. I like it.
Yeah.
Got to retire.
Got to retire first.
Good idea too.
So Salisbury Marathon, you drove out.
Yeah, I drove out. So I was looking at it and I'm like, after all my travel issues trying to get out and back to Baton, I'm like, all right, it's only 12 hours, but you figure it out and you say, hey, a lot of times if you're flying that far, you're not going to get into an airport that's close by.
You have a couple hours probably.
And I was looking at flights and they were like $800, $1,000.
Wow.
And I still would have to drive 2 hours plus rent a car. I'm like, all right, I think and I kept looking at this race and I looked at it for a month and I'm like, it fits into the time frame. I could do this. It's a state I need. And I'm like, no. And then I just like cross it off. And then I'd come back to it. Like it fits in. Like the timing is good.
Yeah.
I should do it. And then I was like, all right, I'm going to do it, but I'm going to have to drive, and it's like, okay, so I'm going to have to leave Thursday night after work. And then what I'm going to do to save money is I'm going to drive my own vehicle and then I'm just going to sleep in the back seat.
Yeah. So did you find a rest stop?
I did.
Yeah.
And that's the fantastic part. It's a straight shot, like driving from Michigan straight out to Maryland. It's like you're on the turnpike all the way through Ohio and Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay.
It's a straight shot. Like it's turnpike.
Pretty smooth sailing.
Smooth until you get into Pennsylvania. It gets a little curvy when you start getting out east a little bit here and there. But the thing is, though, is I realized I had an Easy Pass too, and I put money on the Easy Pass because you're gonna,
nice.
I probably had 80, 50, $60 in tolls that way. Took my truck, got good gas mileage, like 21 to 22 with that truck, but it's so comfortable to drive. So, I mean, I could have taken one of the kids' cars or Tammy's car.
Yeah, and saved a little
got
bit.
double the mileage, but I was like, and they're not very big. Like,
no, sleeping in the back might not have been as comfortable.
Would have sucked. So I got out there. I got 7 hours in. So I was in Pennsylvania, heavy into Pennsylvania before I stopped.
Like 10-ish?
Yeah, it was like 10 or 11 o'clock at night. I
Okay.
think I was texting you, at some point when I stopped.
Then you crashed.
Took a nap.
As in took a nap.
Well, it was raining though. And I'm telling you, I don't know if this is just my eyes, but I don't enjoy driving at night and I don't like driving at night in the rain.
Yeah, it's the worst.
You can't see anything.
Yeah, that's
So-
your age.
Maybe. My eyes aren't as good as they
Over
used to be.
50, yeah.
So I did, and I finally stopped, and you're wired when you're driving that long. So I was about 7 hours in, and I'm like, all right. And I got those sunshades.
Oh, okay.
So it was a bright parking lot, like it's all lit up. And that's what I like about the turnpike rest areas is like they have everything. Like you go in there and you can
true.
get food. You don't have to, you got gas. You don't even have to get off the highway that far and try to navigate. You get off, go to those rest areas. You can get something to eat, something to drink, and fill up with gas. So it's so fast.
Yeah.
And slept in the parking lot there. I put all those sunshades up, and it was dark inside my truck. And I didn't hear a thing, and I knocked out. And then I was thinking about sleeping in the back. But
in the backpack?
Yeah, the only thing is I have a soft cover though, and that would have been, I think I would have felt very claustrophobic if I would have done that.
Yeah.
It would have been more comfortable because I would have stretched out, but whatever.
Yeah.
But I got up and I could hear it starting to rain again, and I
my goodness.
6 or 7 o'clock in the morning, I thought, I'll get on the road. And the roads start to get more narrower, and it's starting to curve, and it's raining, and there's trucks. Oh my gosh, I couldn't see a thing, and I'm just not having a good time. I'm like, oh, this is not fun. Like, I do not like driving in this stuff. So I had a couple hours of that. Just white knuckle, trucks right next to you, and it's like, that's horrible. Like, it smoothed out. Got there, went to, it's like, okay, I got there too early for
On
pickup.
Friday.
Yeah, so I need to get my race bib and all that stuff. And you say packet pickup or the expo. It was a room.
About as big as this.
Yeah, it was small, and it's like, and it's fine. Like, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
And it was in this huge place, and I think they had like a hot tub expo. So I could have bought a hot tub while I was there and, got my race packet. So
Tammy would have loved that.
yeah.
Went to a race and brought home a hot tub.
Yeah, I had my truck, So I went through that, and then I had time. It's like, okay, what do I do the rest of the day now? Because I want to I like to relax, but then I'm like, all right. So,
well, you were staying in a hotel, right?
I was, and I went to go to my hotel, and I'm like, oh, can I check in early? Yeah, for another $25. Well, my cheap side says like, no.
Oh, wait.
But then it got my hackles up. I go in there, and it's like a day's in, and they had to, and it's not a great part of town. And then they had to buzz me into just the lobby. And the lobby was different from the hotel. And I'm like, that's weird. And it's like, this is the cheapest place I could find. I was thinking I got to go cheap. And then like, all right, I'm not going to pay an extra $25 because what am I going to do? So maybe I'll get something to eat.
Yeah.
Drove down the road, went to a brewery, got a beer, got a burger. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do with all my time all day because there's nothing around. Like, it wasn't. Like, it's not this big vacation destination spot. Like, what was I going to do? And finally get to, wait, and it's time, and I got to go check in. And I go and I check in because I had reserved it. I'm like, I don't know, man. This is not a cool place. And I'm walking back. I drive back, and there's cars parked kind of crooked. And I just notice there's garbage all over the walk. And then like I walk up and I try to find my room, and the doors on that side didn't have numbers on them. It's like those hotels that are outside.
Yeah, I was just going to say the doors on the outside. Okay.
And my room number is laying on the ground. I don't know what my room is. I try to check that one.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And I'm like, this is not good. Like, this is not where, like, is my truck going to get broke into? Is it going to be nasty in there? I am not sleeping in something nasty. And I went back into the office. I'm like, I can't stay here. Like, I'm not doing it. Like, what do you, she's like, I understand. Like, right away, she understood.
Oh,
she's
my
like,
goodness.
yeah, this place is nasty. So
holy cow.
I had to find a hotel last minute. So I went closer to town, and I was kind of calling around, as I'm checking, because it was a neat little town. It kind of reminded me of Holland, like where the race itself was really good. And I'm like checking around. I'm like, all right, I found one, and it was $50 more, but it was a good $50 to spend. But they actually had a gated parking lot that you had to use your card to get in and out, but it wasn't the same part of town.
Yeah.
So it was fine. And it was actually like a Best Western. So it was a decent hotel, decent place, and that's where I ended up staying.
Wow. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, it was like, I don't know. Like, I travel a lot, and I can put up with a lot because I slept in my truck, but my truck is my stuff, not somebody else's.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's interesting. So you traveled out there, found a different hotel. I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
So was that actually closer to the race then?
It was closer too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was like a 5-minute drive to get to the race. And in the morning it was easy. I just drove, and you park in the parking ramp, and then the race start was different than the race finish. So I parked probably closer to the finish, and they had that's a cool part.
Not a terrible long ways, but just.
No, it was half a mile.
Okay.
But as and it was cold. Like, as I'm starting, I'm like, I'm looking at the weather. I'm like, I'm going to have to wear tights. Like,
really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And a jacket, but it warms up during the day.
Oh.
So I'm like, I wore tights, and I wore like the sleeveless shirt, like a compression, and I put a jacket on over it. And walking down there, I'm like, I don't know. I was so cold, like at the finish at Baton. I was like, I don't like being cold. Because I won't only remember I was shivering at the beginning of Baton. I'm like, I don't want to be cold at the start. Like, I'd rather be too warm. I'm getting to be a sissy. Yeah. So I lined up. I'm walking down there, and I'm walking next to this guy, and I'm like, that guy looks familiar. And I look over, and I'm like, that looks like Bart Yasso. I've met him a few times, and I'm like, I don't want to just say it. So I'm walking along, and I'm like, finally I come up next to him. You look familiar. He's like, yeah, you look familiar too. And I used to work for Runner's World. I'm like, yep, you're Bart Yasso. So I talked to him for a while and, walking in, super nice guy. And that's like probably the third or fourth time I've met him at different races, but it's been years.
Okay.
I met him at Wine Glass, I think, at the start. He was actually running it. I've seen him at Pikes Peak, like in the crowd as you're finishing, like he's slapping hands and stuff. And then I saw him at Route 66. He was in Marathon Maniacs Corner or whatever, and he was talking to people. So I've seen him at multiple races. It seems like he always pops up. Yeah. Super nice guy, and he was announcing the race at the finish.
Oh, okay.
So he was working. I don't know how old he is, though. He's got to be in his 70s now.
I would guess. Yeah, he's up there.
And so we're race starts pretty decent, pretty flat course.
How big of an event?
I don't know. 1,000, not a huge event.
Okay. About half the size of Grand Rapids.
Yeah. And I think it's a pretty new race.
Okay.
The route through, it kind of took you out in the country. It was kind of nice. Windy.
Oh,
it turned out to be windy. So I'm so glad I had my jacket on.
Oh my gosh. Wind sucks.
But it was another one of those things. Like I was aid stations were good, just for a small race, no problem there. I think that they actually had one aid station that I passed that wasn't set up. So they must not have had enough volunteers. And we've talked about that before. It's a difficult thing sometimes, to get people to volunteer.
Yep.
But I always had good aid, always, never had a problem, as far as getting water. I didn't have to carry anything. They had goose. They had all that stuff on the course. So, like I've been to races where they don't have goose.
Yeah.
I think Baton didn't have any goose, actually. They had bananas.
I think you said that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, really good. But it's just like you get on that back half. You do the first part of it. It was like 2 big loops. And you're with the half marathoners. And then it was like, once you get to the full, as usual, it's like a lot less people.
Slims down quite a bit. So it was a 2-looper?
Two different loops.
Oh, okay.
Kind of the route kind of brought you back.
Okay.
And the half would finish and then you're out there again.
Okay.
But that backside, the wind, the headwind, it was like, and I come next to the side and I'm like, he's walking. I'm like, he was complaining about the weather. I'm like, I've run in worse. This isn't horrible. But I had that same thing like last time, like when I was talking about Gulf Shores, I had that spot in the middle of Gulf Shores got warm, but I had a spot where I just couldn't get any speed. But I think it was the wind.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm running along and then the 420 guy, pacer, catches me. And I'm like, because I got to the half and I'm thinking it was about, 205. And I'm like,
okay,
I should be able to,
410. Yeah.
I should be able to get 420 at the most. And I'm kind of calculating in my head. And then that 420 guy catches me. It's like, if he catches me with 4 or 5 to go, that means like 425, 430.
Oh.
And I don't know. I talked to him for a little bit and we kind of chatted and I'm like, I feel okay. Like I'm just lazy. So
gotcha.
I actually picked it up and I felt good. Like I was able to pick it up and I was able to bring it in and we were kind of out of the wind at that point.
Yeah.
A couple little headwinds as you kind of turn, but I was able to pick it up and I finished at like 4:15.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say because, man, you hit those stages in long runs like that, marathon, where you're right. You just get, it's just like, it's monotonous. So you're just like, slow down because it's just like, it's so hard to explain because I've been there too where you just go, no, just run. You just got to run.
Yeah.
You're not. And it's like in ultras, I can say there are tons of times where that impacts you because you look at your heart rate, it's like 90 and you go, you're not tired. You're just being lazy. Yeah. Just run.
It is. I've given people this advice, like the end, like that last 6 miles, you're not tired. You're sometimes you're bored. Like it's like I've been running this long and it's just like, And you
Yeah.
have to get out of that boredom. I mean, there are times where I've definitely hit the wall and I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
That does happen. But a lot of times I'm just lazy.
And you might be tired, but you are capable of going faster.
Yep.
100%.
So I don't know. I'd have to look at my splits, but I picked it up and I was running decent again.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see your heart rate. Oh, you don't have a, do you wear a heart rate?
Only wrist.
Wrist.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to see heart rate because it probably drops. Whereas like 13 to let's say 16, let's say you were running 145 heart rate.
Yeah.
And then 16 to 20, I'll bet it drops to like 135.
Well, I was fighting a wind though. So they're definitely
true.
You know, and I wasn't walking. Like I didn't stop to walk because I laughed at that guy when he was complaining about the weather. It just made me laugh.
Yeah.
But again, I like misery. So
I would be curious to see that because I think you're right. We get bored and we just, and we slow down.
Especially when you're doing multiples and it's like, it wasn't a PR race. I was just like
racing.
I'm trying to get a state done. I want to run a decent pace. I just, I want to run.
And it's a nice setup for Glass City.
Yeah.
Because you were getting ready to come up to Glass City pacing, which you're pacing what?
4:35.
4:35. Yep. Okay. So so the race itself, fine race.
Yeah.
No issues.
Yeah.
Was the course, you talk about the back,
pretty flat.
The country area of the course.
Yeah. Like if
probably a little out there and I don't want to say boring, but not a lot.
If you're a person that needs a lot of crowd support, you're not going to get it there. I mean, in the town,
In the town, you will.
But they had a great finish line. Like you come in and it's all barricaded off and they had like the whole area shut down and they had like a big festival then. So they had a stage with music.
Yeah, because is it just the marathon or is it part of something?
I don't know.
Or is something happening at the same time, I should say?
I don't know. Cool little town. It kind of reminded me of Holland,
Okay. I look at I don't know if this is the correct actual picture, but it does look like the picture I'm looking at does look like a downtown Holland type of a feel.
Yeah, it was a neat
East Grand Rapids.
They
kind
had
of a
it
feel.
shut right down. I mean, you could go and, you could get a couple beers and walk around in that area with your beer. You didn't have to, you didn't have this sectioned off area.
Yeah. That's cool. And then, so the after post race event was fun.
Yeah,
all that was good.
Only stayed probably an hour because I had to make up for Baton.
That's right.
Buy my food, and they had pizza, so I tried to eat as much pizza as I could handle. And
you jumped on the road.
Yeah,
that's right. So this was the in and out.
It was cool because Bart remembered me from talking, and I think I have a face that people remember, or whatever. And he said, "Hey, when he remembered who I was, and from talking in the morning, and he's like, 'What state number is this?' And he was asking me questions as I'm crossing the finish line.
Cool.
And he's calling it, so I did take a selfie with him.
Yeah, I saw that. That's cool. Yeah,
and, it was kind of fun.
Yeah, so it looks like this is year 6 of the Salisbury Marathon. So they do have a 5K, a half marathon, and a full, but they're all at the same time, right? Yeah. So 7:30, the 5K starts 7, and the marathon and half start at 7.
I like it when it's a Sunday race and they have a 5K or 10K the day before. That's kind of fun for me.
Yeah, it is. We've done that at Fargo.
Yeah, especially if you can get a different medal too. So you have 2 medals of the same thing.
I'm trying to think. Did we do was it just the 10K? Because they have a 5, a 10, and a half and a full the next day. But
we just did the 5K at Fargo.
Was it just the 5?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because remember there was people with like strollers with kids and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was like a mess. Like
Yeah. So similarly, that's always fun to just get in the bonus race the day before.
Yeah, I stuck around. I try to get as much free food as I can because I gotta get my money's worth. I still come from West Michigan. And then I hopped on the road and I was like, see how far I get. And I hammered down. I got home about 12:30 in the morning.
You did finish all the way through.
Yeah,
okay.
I just hammered the caffeine and I was wired. I got home. I couldn't fall asleep right away.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I tell you though, could have done that, but I can't imagine having to get up. You got home at, let's say 12:30. So let's say it would drop me off about that time. you'd have continued home. I would have had to got up at 4:30.
You could have done it.
Yeah. It would have been a rough day.
You could have been
way.
like, this is what you get for not letting me have time off.
Yeah, right.
But we could have done better if we would have known
True.
and that was a plan.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have stuck around. I would have grabbed a pizza box and we would have just hopped in.
Jetted.
We would have just jetted.
Yeah, we'd have got home.
Because they would have handed me a pizza box if I wanted to. We could have just grabbed that and.
Yeah.
I don't know about drinking beer in the truck. Maybe kind of frowned upon.
I wouldn't have been able to do that.
I wouldn't have got any beer, but
it is good to know, like even looking at like Georgia,
we could do it.
It's actually kind of a cool, like a challenge.
Yeah,
that's
what I'm saying.
Can you go run a race in
Georgia
Georgia on a Saturday and be back for work on Sunday?
And South Dakota would be the same thing because it's a 12-hour drive. I'm looking at that one in South Dakota too.
Yeah, where's it at in South Dakota?
Sioux Falls, I think, or Sioux.
That'd be a cool one.
Yeah.
That's one though you almost don't want. I mean, that'd be kind of cool. The area, I would think,
could be, but then you just go early, like just
on the front end.
On the front end, and then just jet
that's
back.
on a Saturday.
I don't remember that one.
Well, either way. Salisbury Marathon, for those that are interested this time of year, sounds like it's a fun race.
Yeah.
You would do it again if in the same boat.
I absolutely would.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Just watch where you get your hotel.
And parking on the front end, parking to get to it and all that.
Everything
totally good.
Easy. So
see,
that's the thing about small races.
Yeah, that's important because, man, you look at some of the logistics of the bigger ones, it's stressful.
It is.
It is stressful.
Even Glass City, like, because that parking lot's so big, it's not a bad race. It's not hard, but
no,
there's plenty of parking, but it's just because remember when we lost a car.
It's funny because the front end of the park or the parking before the race isn't as stressful as the parking after the race.
And remember that time when you were cold and you were kind of snippy, and it's like I don't care. I just want to find the car.
I knew we were in the right direction, and I was done talking. Like, let's get to the car. I am freezing. Yeah.
Oh, we picked on you pretty good after that.
Yeah.
After you calmed down, we had to let you calm down a little
bit. Yeah. But it is funny because we've done that. Like, I don't know how many times we've done that race, maybe 5. You've done a lot more. But
I've done at least 7 times. I think I've run that race.
Yeah. But it seems like if in my 5 times, I'll bet you 4, we lose the car. It's like, where did we park? And
we're all like, hey, we know better.
Yeah, I don't know why that is so confusing because it's honestly confusing even when you get there in the morning.
All the way around that stadium.
Yeah, and it's just so weird the way where the start is from the stadium and the stadium is where you finish. And you think you're walking.
You get turned around.
You just get so turned around there. Yeah, I don't understand it why or how, but it is confusing. You would think after 5 to 7 times you'd have it a little bit figured out, but no. I bet you we get lost this year.
Yeah, because we're not smart.
Although
we're
think
directionally challenged.
I think it's funny because I think Brian even pinned. Oh no, we did last time. I think we pinned it last time. The car. Yes, we did. We finally realized
we learned that.
Hey, there's this new feature. I say new, but it's probably been out for like 10 years. On your phone to pin
my truck. It'll show. I can go on my app for my truck. It'll show where my truck is.
Yeah,
you probably have the same thing.
We do have it with the newer Jeep now. Yeah, we don't have it with mine, but with Nicole's we do, which is very cool.
Take that one.
Yes, we will be for sure. So cool. So Salisbury Marathon in Maryland. Go check it out. It's a fun race. Nice, fun, smaller race. If you want to go do one in Maryland and see the sights out there. Obviously, that is close to a lot if you turn that into a vacation.
It was a cool drive, like driving across the bridges.
And you were out there for the earthquake?
You
didn't feel it.
Yeah, because I was probably driving.
And you were out there when the ship hit the...
No, that was a week or 2 before.
Oh, was it? Okay. Yeah. Okay. I remember looking it up and you weren't that far from like that.
Yeah, it was closer to Baltimore where that ship was, but
yeah. But you were out there for the earthquake, didn't feel it, but
yeah.
You
I think Nicole texted me. I'm like, no, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm driving and listen to my book.
Yeah. But anyway, go check out Salisbury Marathon. Cool. Thanks for that recap on that. It's nice that you got a marathon in with no, other than the hotel. I guess that would be, don't stay at the Days Inn. Wherever that was, don't stay at the Days Inn. Go 10 minutes closer, or whatever it was. And
apparently I still have standards.
Yeah. Well, when your door or your room number is on the floor, there's garbage outside, vehicles are all over the place. Yeah, maybe check in somewhere else.
Yeah.
That's why, did you go to what I always do? Did you go to Google and do the Street View?
I did not.
I always do that.
Yeah.
I go to Street View.
That's why you're going to be in charge of hotel if we go to Georgia.
Georgia? Yeah. I think that one will be better. We'll see. But I always do that. I check. You know, it's funny because I do that now.
Well, Matt taught me that.
Oh, really?
He does it for Airbnbs.
See, I do it because I want to see what it looks like when I get there. I'll be like, oh yeah, I recognize this from Street View. Even getting there and recognizing the building.
He'll go through and he'll look for junk cars and stuff like that. So especially for Airbnbs, and be like, oh, that's not a good neighborhood. Not a
good one. I wish they had that. Well, they probably did, but I wish I would have done that. I probably did do it and still went with it when Brian. Oh, well, actually, I don't know if Brian did. Jason, Amy.
Where you guys slept in your clothes?
No. Well, yeah, I think we might have. When we went out to Boston one year, everybody gave me a hard time. It's funny. I'm like you. I'm like location and budget, because it was the same thing for Ludington Triathlon. They're like, holy cow, is there blood on the walls here? I mean, it was the one in Syracuse, New York. That was the one where we were worried about our like wheels on the car, kind of a thing.
That's what I thought about this place.
Would we come out to?
Am I going to come out with my truck broken too?
Yeah, we were a little concerned.
Stuff is replaceable for sure, but the I don't want to
deal with it. Yeah, we were the one on the way out to Boston. I think we were the only ones staying at the hotel. That made it bad, and we were not comfortable. We were so uncomfortable that I do not get up in the morning, and I was the first one up going, let's go. We need to go. And it was like 4 a.m.
And you didn't sleep at all. Like you're just laying there. It
was hard. It was really hard. So anyway, that is our race recap of, it's Mitch's race recap of Salisbury Marathon in Maryland. Go check them out, and be sure to check us out on Facebook and YouTube and all that stuff, and your favorite listening platform and all that. Check us out on Patreon. If you want to join the team there, you can do it for free, or you can choose to support the show in some way, shape, or form. We do have some supporters, and so appreciative of that. I do have to call out Chris. I'm going to say Levi's. No, it's denim. Like the jeans. He did respond once, and I thought it was funny that he said like Levi's, and so I figured I'd call him Chris Levi's instead of denim like the jeans. But thanks everybody for the support and listening to the podcast and sharing the podcast. Please do that. We are excited for the growth that is happening, and look forward to seeing the podcast grow. So with that's going to wrap up this week's episode of the I Don't Know Running podcast. Be sure to tune in next time as we share more about what we just don't know.
Till then, happy running.